The last great empire of the ancient Near East was the Persian Empire, which dominated the region from roughly 550 to 332 BCE. At its core was a high, arid mountain region east of Mesopotamia known as the Iranian Plateau, which corresponds largely to modern-day Iran. This region takes its name from a group of peoples, the Iranians, who migrated into the area from the north at the beginning of the Iron Age, around 1000 BCE. Early on, the Iranian peoples were divided into many independent tribes. They shared a common language, belonging to the Indo-European family, and broadly similar cultural traditions, but they had little political unity. The Persians were only one of these Iranian tribes. Over time, however, contact with Mesopotamian civilization led the Iranians to adopt more complex political and social institutions. Still, they remained relatively weak as long as they were divided into separate tribes. Everything changed under the leadership of Cyrus the Great. Cyrus succeeded in uniting the Iranian tribes under his authority and then launched a dramatic series of conquests. Persian armies swept across the mountains and plains, eventually controlling territory stretching from Central Asia and the Indus Valley in the east to the Aegean Sea in the west. In 539 BCE, Cyrus captured the city of Babylon, bringing the Neo-Babylonian, Chaldean Empire to an end. With this victory, Cyrus acquired one of the largest empires the world had yet seen. The question that now faced him was not how to conquer, but how to govern and maintain control over such an enormous and culturally diverse realm. Cyrus addressed this challenge by dividing the empire into large administrative regions known as satrapies. Each satrapy encompassed territories that shared common political, cultural, or economic characteristics. Mesopotamia, for example, formed one such unit. Each satrapy was governed by a satrap, who was usually Persian, though later officials were sometimes drawn from the local population. The satrap exercised broad control over civil administration, taxation, and local law, supported by a full bureaucratic staff. In times of crisis, satrapies could function with a considerable degree of autonomy, allowing them to respond quickly to local conditions while remaining loyal to the empire. This flexibility made Persian rule remarkably adaptable and stable. Local customs, laws, and traditions were generally preserved, so long as taxes were paid and loyalty maintained. The major weakness of this system was the risk that a satrap might grow too powerful and attempt to break away from central authority. To prevent this, the Persians introduced a number of safeguards. Key officials, such as military commanders and financial officers, were often appointed directly by the king and reported to him rather than to the satrap. This limited any one official's power. The Persians also constructed an extensive imperial road system, linking the empire together and enabling a professional messenger service to keep the royal court informed about conditions in distant provinces. Finally, the Persian king maintained a large professional army, which served both to defend the empire against external threats and to suppress internal revolts when necessary. One of the most distinctive features of the Persian Empire was its policy of religious toleration. Unlike the Assyrians, who ruled largely through terror, the Persians allowed subject peoples to maintain their own religious practices and cultural traditions. A famous example is the treatment of the Hebrews. Persian rulers permitted Jewish leaders to return to Judah, rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, and resume their religious life. This policy not only reduced resentment, but also earned the Persians loyalty from many subject populations. The Persian Empire was enormous, powerful, and efficiently organized, yet it was far less oppressive than earlier Near Eastern empires, especially Assyria. Its success rested on a careful balance of strong central authority, local autonomy, administrative efficiency, and cultural tolerance. This model of empire proved extraordinarily effective and influential. It would soon attract the attention of a rising power in the West, the Greek world. In 332 BCE, the Persian Empire would fall to Alexander the Great, but its methods of governance would live on long after its political defeat.